Castle, 1951. Bottle number 6. It's, I suppose, the most known of the old Knappogues.
Yeah. Quite possibly the most well-known of the old Irish whiskies, full stop. Oh, here. We have the technology, we can rebuild him.
Thank you very much, thank you. Look at that. People have been very, very kind, so thanks very much. Adrian was very kind. So yeah, here we go. The Knappogue.
Grand, yeah.
1951.
Knappogue 1951, and it's
36
funny.
years old, is it?
Yeah.
It comes with a kind of age statement?
It comes with an age, it's funny actually, I remember the artist formerly known as Tullamore Tim, who's now not in Tullamore, but I remember him rocking up to my gaff with a bottle of Knappogue 1951, and he was cracking it open because it was for a writing project, and I asked him if I could get a nip at it. I didn't realize he was cracking open a bottle when he said, "I have some at home."
We'll just crack open this.
And and it was funny because it had a screw cap. It came in this like foam bottle, you know, really cheapy looking, and
wooden box.
Yeah,
foam insert.
And screw cap. And I remember, like, we had this joke. We said, like, can you remember when this was the fanciest Irish whiskey there was? Full stop. Was this? Everybody knew this is the fanciest Irish whiskey that exists.
The MVRs there was nothing to the MVRs.
And again,
this was fancy.
And we were joking about how much Irish whiskey has changed, you know. And there was that sense around Knappogue 1951 that it was as classy as Irish whiskey got. That's the fanciest of the fancy pants. And it was funny because it wasn't a Bow Streeter. It wasn't, you know, it was Tullamore spirit, but without Tullamore on the label. You know, and you had the whole story about Mark Edwin Andrews and the castle and blah, blah, blah. This American goes over to Ireland and wants a whiskey for his castle and blah, blah, blah. You know, and but it also was I mean, I think William Grant should be buying those up like there's no tomorrow, you know, and stockpiling them because it was such a testament to the quality of the Tullamore distillate.
I mean, could he even do what some people are doing, which is buying it and then rebottling it and relabeling it and selling it again?
Yeah.
Could you imagine the price tag at that point? Jesus Christ.
Oh.
You know what I mean? But at the moment, these bottles are 1,000 plus. So they're £1,000 plus just now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think the rise of Tullamore just now might see these going up again. The fact that it's such an age stock, you know, at 36 years old, suggests that the price will continuously rise in it. I'll be honest, I've had this one as well. The one we tried last year, which was at cask strength. Yeah. Which was, you know, a one-off single casking. These are various casks. If I remember rightly, the Knappogue 1951 at 36 years old, it was various casks.
It was various, yeah. It was he did them as a kind of what do you say, an annual release, and then did a vatting, and that's why there's so much of the 1951 and so little of the 1950. You know, because eventually he started kind of mixing them as a collective. But yeah, and of course, and then there's the other side of it. Like by this time, you know, DEW Limited were so disinterested in whiskey, as was everyone. You know, they've repivoted onto Irish Mist. They were happy to, you know, let go of the casks. So it's a real, you know, I mean, there's that tragedy of Marlafield or whatever the hell it's called, that Tullamore, that B. Daly stock that was bought and then watered down to 20% because someone thought it would taste more like a liqueur.
Mayfield, what was it called?
Mayfield, yeah. Marlafield?
Something like that.
Marlafield or something.
Again, they come in half-size bottles.
Yeah.
Come in at less than
and they auction for nothing because
40%
it's not legally whiskey. Yeah, and they were
liqueur.
They were just cut down so that they would taste liqueurish, and then remarketed as a liqueur so that people wouldn't confuse it for whiskey and pay less. That's right. You know, and but anyway, it's still like you give it a smell.
But it's a win-win for Knappogue Castle at that point. You know, in terms of cost that they must have been buying it for. I think it's a win-win.
I mean, you give it a smell, and you know what I was talking about with the like spice rack, the like herbs de Provence premix smell. There is this weird, like rosemary, oregano kind of smell off of B. Daly, and that you don't get in Bow Street. You don't get in
or any other whiskey. at the moment. Anyway,
It's, here, give that a wee niff.
No, 100%.
Niff is not a word. Sniff. The
Give it a niff also.
but you smell like that weird, like again, it is oregano. That's the closest I've gotten is like something you should sprinkle over pasta, some savoury herb, you know, and it's so strange. And
It's not a million miles away from having that, as if you're having a salad.
Yeah.
And it's the oil getting splashed over it, you know, and lifting up the flavours
yeah,
of those herbs, and you know that.
the crouton smell, you know,
Yes.
lifted crouton.
Like Worcester sauce.
Yeah, yeah.
And here, just on the smell alone, it's chewy
Yeah.
on the nose.
It's a weird, for me, B. Daly is that
Lovely,
smell,
lovely.
and it's that weird like grapefruity persimmon thing, bitterness on the taste. So give it a taste.
It's good, eh?
And you smell it, or when you taste, there's that weird like, not orange peel, but grapefruit. I used to, I used to have a mate. I have a mate.
You used to have one friend.
That I've had for a long time. A guy named David Monley, and but when we were in college, David was insistent that if you had a hangover in the morning, you know, everyone thinks you have to have a big fry. He said, no, grapefruit. Grapefruit will get you going. And it's a terrible idea. It's a really, you know, the only way to make a hangover worse is like knock back grapefruit. But he was, and so like if I ended up, I crashed on David's couch quite often, and I'd wake up in the morning with a hangover. And with the like, and he was so insistent about it, you didn't want to say no, and so you'd get the grapefruit on top of the hangover.
Well, actually, grapefruit.
Grapefruit, it's like hand you like a half a fucking orb of grapefruit, and that's what you'd be.
Not
That's
like a
you had to
grapefruit
wait. You
drink.
had the massive headache, and then you know this like grapefruit. Like, oh no. What you want is grapefruit. That's the cure.
I've never heard of a grapefruit for the
Of course you think it's a terrible idea. And
and he's still your friend.
yeah.
That's good.
And not a whiskey drinker, so I can rest easy that he's not watching this. And not in the whiskey scene, so I don't see it getting back to him. But lives in New Zealand, so I really don't see it.
No, it's not. Do you know what? You can say what you like about him. Because it's not going back. It's just not going back.
Paul came, what a gobshite. Oh no.
Yeah, but what about the other night? Cologne tasting. Did anyone play the game Gobshite?
I have no idea.
There was a
what you're
game.
talking
There was a game being played whenever Brendan was doing his tasting. Every time he would use the word Gobshite, it was take a shot.
about. Oh right.
Yeah.
Those are dangerous
I think
games.
they got up to 5 or 6 shots. People were saying that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, there is that weird, like, pithy persimmon, less of the, like, persimmon fruit and more like the peel again, you know, grapefruit. That weird, like, slightly sour taste off the finish. And then again, delivered by that texture. I mean, still a pot still. And
I think that excites me about that drink. What excites me is that it's not uber sweet. There's savoury notes in here. You know
there's that rosemary note.
Yeah.
There's that swallowing, like you put too much. I've sprinkled too much Tesco herbs de Provence on food before. You know, tried to sauce up some like, you know, pasta with just layering it and stuff. And you get that weird sensation in your mouth. And that's in there as well,
That's
you know.
yeah.
That herbally, over-herbally, kind of dried packaged herbs, you know. Nothing fresh about it. 36 years old, probably some of those premixes are. But there's a lot in common. But it worked, and it was so odd because at the time it was fancy because it was the oldest Irish whiskey out there, and it was also a dead distillery. I don't think a lot of people even understood that it was pot still, that was different, whatever, but it was categorically the fanciest Irish whiskey that money can buy is Knappogue 1951, done and dusted, you know, and that's the category. We've changed a lot.
Well, no, we've changed a lot. I think, you know, the industry's changed a lot. But actually, I think you're finding this is still something extremely unique. And I still think, although it might no longer be the most expensive, it still sits within that. It's a class above its peers in most respects. I mean, where are we? 36 years old. Have we got another 36-year-old next to it? We've got something from IDL.
Yeah?
Yeah. Nothing from Bushmills yet.
No.
I mean, nothing from all the young boys. Teeling's most expensive one that they've got out, which is not the liquid, but obviously under the label. I think is what, 34, is it?
Yeah, I mean, that's old Bushmills itself.
Yeah,
But
so-
there's all the old
So
Bushmills. It's
this-
not
you know,
Bushmills.
if someone really wants to be high-end collecting, high-end, Irish whiskey, and wants to like have that prestige level, although the boxes have come a long way now. Now the boxes of Belfast Whiskey Week out. Maybe
I know.
Maybe
This
outdo
sample pack has better packaging than Knappogue
Yeah,
1951.
exactly.
You know,
And yet- but to have a 1951 bottle, 36-year-old Knappogue in your collection as an Irish whiskey enthusiast, connoisseur, collector, yeah, you're missing out if you don't have one. I think it needs
Yeah.
to be there.
yeah,
I think
absolutely.
it has to, because it's pure. For me, it's pure history. It's pure,
Yeah,
pure Irish.
and it's such a win for, for B. Daly themselves, for Tullamore, because there's no, it's. I've only ever had one genuine B. Daly pot still that was labelled Tullamore Dew, and that was in the brewery tap pub in Tullamore when they had a bottle going. It was when I was there doing the work for a glass of the book project, and the public had said, "Look, have a knock at that," and he had been pouring this out, parsimoniously for years, and I was just at the end. It was the dregs of the thing. So God knows how long it took him to get through that bottle, and how long it was aerating. It was the very, very bottom. It still had that persimmony kind of kick, and but again, it's so hard to find Tullamore pot still. In comparison to Bow Street pot still, that Knappogue 951 is what there is.
Just for people, for people to understand that, what labels were used? What labels were being used? Because we say Tullamore Dew, but there was B. Daly labels also, wasn't there?
Yeah. They kept using the name B. Daly's '*S pot still. But again, they installed the column in 1948, and then they started making a proprietary blend using the malt. So it faded out a little earlier than the rest of them. Whereas the people who became IDL, Powers, Jemison, and Cork Distillers, they were mucking about with grain whiskey as well. But there's that seminal year, 1967 to 1968, when the old pot still brands become blends. But because it was later, you have that it's easier.
There's not a B. Daly label.
Because
not a B. Daly
what happens
label
is Tullamore Dew becomes a blend earlier than the gang, and then is absorbed into Powers as a blend. And then before Powers are selling Powers as a blend, they're selling Tullamore Dew as a blend when they own it, And
Well, when does the B. Daly label stop? The B. Daly stops in the 50s.
Yeah, the 50s.
Yeah.
So 1948 they put in the column still, and then the blend comes on tap in the 50s.
Okay. What do we make of this one?
I get really dark ginger kick off that.
Yeah,
Really
again,
nice.
classic.
Sort of burnt sugar as well.
Yeah.
Burnt brown sugar.
Yummy.
Nice.
That dark, like peeled ginger kind of thing,
Yeah.
like real ginger, not ginger flavored stuff, but like.
Yeah.
Never mind belts. Have you ever eaten a piece of ginger?
I have.
Yeah. It's not a pleasant experience.
Just like licking leather. I've definitely had.
Yeah. But there's that darkness. But even the smell of like cut ginger, like an actual, whatever you call a piece of ginger, a clove of ginger, or a mandragora of ginger.
Just as you say that, I mean, we're outside in Hinge, okay, and the food is coming.
I know, yeah. The
I
great,
actually
like, elephant in the room is that the whole fucking place smells of the food from the brasserie.
I was just, I was getting that. I was like, is that ginger coming in?
Yeah.
Listen, I've enjoyed that. I don't have the information from me in case people are asking questions, so I'm sorry if there's questions there, but I'm sure we could go back at a later stage and answer them. So I've really enjoyed myself.